my treasured viewers, do you know that marriage matters affect everyone involved in the marriage? And in an African society, marriage issues involve families, not just the two parties, the husband and wife, who went into the contract of marriage. For some time on this channel, we have been talking about marriage issues. We have been discussing marriage and its various aspects. Hello, my name is Ogochukwu Onoha, known otherwise as a human rights wizard. I am a human rights educator, and my aim remains to simplify the law so long as they affect the rights of the citizens of Nigeria and other parts of the world that are interested in fundamental human rights. For some time now, our focus, our searchlight, has been focused on the Marriage Act, an act of the British Parliament that was passed into law in 1940 and inherited by Nigeria through our collective colonial experience. And the Matrimonial Causes Act of 1970, an act of the federal government of Nigeria. There is an act of Nigeria's National Assembly that regulates marriages and stipulates steps to be followed if a marriage has to be dissolved. The parent law, however, is the Marriage Act. The Matrimonial Causes Act operates under the Marriage Act. For some time, however, I have noticed that the viewership of our videos on marriage has been quite minimal. And I want to ask you, the viewer out there, to share this video, to like our videos, and to subscribe to this channel so as to encourage us to do more of this, or give you more of this kind of videos. Marriage issues affect everybody, whether we like it or not. It affects us. Unfortunately, many people are either ignorant of the obligations that marriage imposes on them and the rights that the law confers on them as partners in marriage. Unfortunately, by the time those of us who are involved get to understand what is happening, they are already mired in marriage or related troubles, marriage-related complications. And they begin to struggle when the water of marriage, troubles, and complications has got to their neck level. It is to avoid this that I have taken it upon myself to educate Nigerians on issues related to marriage. We are not doing this on this channel solely for profit. So our motivation is not profit maximization. Yes, if by posting videos on YouTube, on Facebook, on TikTok, and on Instagram, we earn some money, then that should be expected because there are expenses involved in shooting these videos and posting them on these social media platforms. But the profit motive is not our major motivation. As a person, for instance, I have more than 20 years experience of volunteerism with several human rights organizations across the country. So what I am doing here, I've been doing for so many years. Civil rights outreach, trying to reach out to fellow Nigerians, to get them to understand their rights in the law, how to go about protecting these rights, and how to go about defending these rights in the event that these rights are under attack by rights violators. I also educate Nigerians on steps to take to ensure that they do not trample upon the rights of others. That is, to live in such a way that they are law-abiding. And being law-abiding implies that one refrains from infringing on some other person's rights. And by so doing, they earn the right to have other people also respect their own rights. That is why, gradually, I have earned the accolade from among my friends of the wizard of human rights, or human rights wizard. My inestimable audience, welcome to a half hour with the human rights wizard. My name is Ogochukwu Onoha, and the channel is Human Rights Heralds. Today, we are still continuing on our discussion of various aspects of marriage to get us to understand this all-important human institution better, so that gradually, perhaps, we can reduce the casualties involved in marriage breakups, which has become the order of the society that you and I live in today. Look at my board. It says, the implications of statutory marriage. In our discussion so far, we have talked about the difference between customary marriage or marriage based on customary laws and statutory marriage, or a marriage based on the Marriage Act, a marriage contracted under the Marriage Act, which I mentioned earlier on. And today, we're talking about implications of statutory marriage. That is, marriage contracted under the Marriage Act. What are implications? By implications, we mean features of a statutory marriage that married couples should understand, that intending couples should understand, that members of the marriage contract, all those who are involved in the marriage contract, should understand. Implications here mean what to be expected in a statutory marriage. The first point is monogamy. A statutory marriage is a contract between two and only parties, a husband and a wife, to the exclusion of others. Yes, in an African society, marriage is assumed to occur between families of the groom, that members of the families of the groom, and members of the families of the bride. Yes, this is acceptable. in the sense that when complications begin to occur in a marriage, or as harmony continues to increase in marriage, an African proverb says that a tree does not make a forest. And the English say that unity is strength. In their times of need, family members come together to assist the married spouses. In their times of joy, they invite these family and friends to celebrate with them. But the marriage proper, from the viewpoint of the law, is between the two parties who engage in a conjugal relationship. Conjugal relationship means sexual relationship. It is only the man and the woman involved who engage in sex as a way of consummating their marriage. So, monogamy excludes all other people in the marriage except the man and the woman. And a monogamous marriage can only exist at a time between one man and one woman. No other man or woman will be involved. The man cannot marry again so long as his wife is still alive. The woman cannot marry again so long as her husband is still alive. Except, of course, in situations where there is a divorce. A divorce according to the provisions of the law. That each of the partners may remarry. Because of this monogamy, a man cannot have a sexual relationship outside his marriage. A woman cannot have it outside her marriage. If this happens, it amounts to a crime, a marriage crime called bigamy. Bigamy. That is, to marry again while your monogamous marriage is still persisting, or to engage in sexual relation with the intention of getting married. It is called bigamy, and it attracts 5 years imprisonment. So, monogamy is one of the implications of a marriage. The second implication is cohabitation. What does this mean? The man and the woman will live together and engage in sexual relationship. And as they cohabit, they do so to the exclusion of others. Uncles, relatives, brothers, sisters, and in-laws may be around, but only the man and the woman and their children can live together in the same house or in the same apartment. Cohabitation, of course, entails sexual relationship. If in the course of cohabitation, one of the other partners denies the other sex when he or she demands it, it is enough ground for the partner who is denied sex to sue the other partner and demand a divorce from a law court, especially if a law court has asked the partner who is denying the other sex to stop it. The court has called that partner to order. If the partner persistently denies the other sex, the partner who has been denied sex can sue the other demanding for divorce. So it is a ground it is a ground for one partner to ask for a divorce if the other partner consistently denies him or her sex when he or she is requesting for it. That is the implication of cohabitation. So, in a monogamous marriage, the man cannot deny his wife sex. The woman cannot deny her husband sex. Now, I know one may be asking, what if the woman is sick? What if the man is sick? Yes, it is reasonable that if a partner is sick, the other partner in the marriage contract should allow him or her to recover fully from the illness before they resume their sexual activity. But then, if the woman or the man uses an illness consistently as an excuse to deny the other one sex, a law court will not approve of this. And the partner who has taken the matter to court asking for divorce will get divorce from the court. That is cohabitation. The third implication is provision of necessities. Provision of necessities. In a monogamous marriage, that is statutory marriage, the woman can get provisions on credit. He has the authority of her husband, acting as if she were the man, to get provisions of necessities of life, like food and clothing and medical care, on credit, with or without the consent of her husband. And it is, in the eyes of the law, it is as if the man himself is the one who has taken those items. And the vendor who has supplied such necessities, so the woman has the right to sue her husband to recover her money if he fails to pay. And the fact that he had no prior idea, he had no prior information that such necessities were supplied is not an excuse. In other words, in a statutory marriage, by virtue of the marriage contract, the woman can stand in the authority of her husband and obtain supplies as if the man were the one obtaining such supplies of necessities. Necessities that are meant to help her maintain her current station in life or maintain her current status in life. And her husband are under obligation in the law to pay for such necessities, whether he had a prior knowledge of them or not. Now, a woman's station in life differs from one marriage to the other. For instance, what the wife of a wealthy man considers her necessities may not be within the reach of the wife of a poor man. I give you an example. The wife of a very wealthy man can buy a Rolls Royce, can buy a private jet in the name of her husband, and the seller, the vendor of the item, can sue her husband to pay for those items, because those items are essential for his wife to maintain her current station or her current status in life. Whether the husband knew about it before or not doesn't come in. The vendor or seller can sue the man to recover his money if he refuses to pay. On the other hand, the wife of a laborer may not be able to buy a private jet or buy a Rolls Royce, an expensive car, and expect her husband to pay. Her necessities will be limited to food, to clothing, to medical care, to transport fare, and other small amounts of money that she needs to maintain her current station in life. And her husband will pay for it. These are the provisions of the law. So we talk about the fourth implication, property rights. A statutory marriage confers on both parties, the husband and the wife, the rights to their collective property. So the property owned by couples in a statutory marriage, the properties are owned collectively. So a woman may not incur a criminal liability for making use of her husband's property, and a husband cannot be sued to court or implicated criminally for making use of his wife's property. And neither party needs permission from the other to make use of the property. So a woman has a full right to use her husband's property, to put these properties into some use that will be beneficial to her husband, and their marriage. And the man has the right to put his wife's property to uses that will bring benefit to himself, to his wife, and their marriage, without necessarily seeking her permission. And on the basis of this, a wife cannot be accused of stealing her husband's property or of destroying her husband's property, and the man cannot be accused of stealing his wife's property or of destroying, because it is not possible for her to steal or for him to steal in a marriage property belonging to them, except when there is divorce or the partner is planning a divorce. That is when it is possible for one to think that the partner is stealing from a partner in marriage or destroying property that belongs to them collectively. That is property rights. Then the fifth point, criminal prosecution. A party in marriage cannot be prosecuted for an offense committed by the other party. I'll try to break this down in a way that you can understand. For instance, a woman can be arrested for the offense committed by her husband because they are the same. A man can be arrested for an offense committed by his wife. And because of this, the woman cannot be expected to bear witness in a law court against her husband, or the man to bear witness against his wife in a law court because of the offense committed by the woman. Yes, a woman cannot be tried or be implicated criminally for trying to hide her husband, to shield him from facing justice for a crime he committed, except there is a third party involved beyond the man and his wife. And a man cannot be prosecuted for trying to save his wife, for trying to protect his wife from the punishment of the law because of an offense she has committed. And none of the two parties is expected to come to a law court to make a statement that will implicate the other when that other person is being accused of an offense. That is the law. So if the woman commits a crime, she may be arrested for prosecution. But her husband is not expected to appear in court to be a witness against her. Or if it is discovered that the man has tried to protect his wife from facing the law, for instance, lying about his wife being at home when police officers are there to arrest her, he cannot be prosecuted. Or the woman lying about the whereabouts of her husband when he is needed to appear in a law court, she cannot be prosecuted. But if it involves a third party, she'll be prosecuted for trying to aid and abet crime. So that is criminal prosecution. Then we'll talk about number 6, privileged communication. A husband and wife in a statutory marriage enjoy privileged communication. What does this mean? They can keep secrets which a third party is not supposed to know about. Now, this is a sore issue. There are many husbands, many wives in a marriage who are fond of always going out to report what a husband has done to a third party, to reveal a secret of a discussion she had with her husband to a third party, because she wants to take advantage of him in some areas. It is wrong. It is not permitted in a statutory marriage. So husbands and wives can keep secrets, and a law court does not even have the power to get a wife or a husband to squeal or to divulge something they discussed in privacy. Or a husband tells a wife something in confidence. She is not expected to tell a third party, and even a law court has no right to tell the woman, what did you discuss with your husband? Make it known to us. Even under oath, no court has the right to do so. And the husband, of course, as a matter of fact, is not expected, even in a law court, to reveal something she discussed with his wife secretly, even if such a revelation will help a law court to reach the right judgment on a case, even if it's a case that does not involve the couple involved. But he and his wife have discussed it in their privacy. Even when revealing such an issue will help a judge to reach the right kind of judgment or to pass the right kind of sentence on a case, the law court must employ other alternatives of discovering the truth without having to force the wife or the husband to reveal something they discussed in their privacy. That is what we mean by privileged communication. Inheritance, a sore issue in marriages. It is true that many African women, including Nigerian women, have got to a high point of greed, a point where many of them pray and wish secretly that a husband should die so that they will inherit the property that they jointly own in their marriage. At this point, I would like to pause and tell Nigerian men and African men, if you are married to a wife who is guilty of insubordination towards you, a wife who doesn't respect you, do not take her abroad with you if you want to live in Europe or America. Because these countries of the Western world have a culture or cultures different from African cultures. Their laws have evolved from their culture, and these laws are different from Nigerian marriage laws. Outside Nigeria, such a wife could make trouble with you, her husband, and apply for divorce and get divorced. And the court will permit her to share your property with her, or possibly take a greater part of the wealth you labor to build up in your life. It is possible outside in the Western world, but this is not possible in Nigeria because we also have our own inheritance laws. which is what we want to talk about here. Inheritance is an implication of a statutory marriage. In this marriage, like I said earlier, the couple owns their property jointly. It is expected, especially if a man dies intestate. In law, the word intestate means without a will. A man has died without writing a will. If this is the case, he has died intestate. If he has left a will before dying, then he died testate. That is intestate and testate. Intestate, dying without a will, without leaving a will behind. Testate, dying after having written his will. If the man dies intestate, that is without a will, automatically, everything he possessed belongs to his wife. That is the inheritance law. Everything in a marriage belongs to the husband and the wife, to the exclusion of everyone else. Exclusion of in-laws, mother and father-in-laws, brother-in-laws, sisters-in-laws, aunties-in-laws, uncles-in-laws, and other relations. None can have a claim on the property belonging to a married couple. Only one of the two parties can have a claim if the other is no longer there. Now I would like to add that even if the woman has no child, the couple had no issue, they were not blessed with any child, and the man dies intestate, his property automatically belongs to his wife. His wife is the only one who has a claim on all the man's property, without exception. If the man dies testate, that is, he has left a will behind, it's a different matter. If the man has left a will behind, then his will, as read by his lawyer, is supreme. Whatever property he gives to anybody is final. His wife cannot challenge it. His wife must take what her late husband has willed to her and nothing more. No one can challenge the will. Assume the woman is the one who dies without leaving a will. There's something. Her husband inherits all the property they owned jointly. But if she died tested, that's leaving a will behind, then her husband must distribute her properties the way she has directed in her will. So in the absence of a man through death, when he has not left any will, then her property, all the wealth he left behind, belongs to his wife and her children, or to his wife alone if there are no children. The man's widow has the first claim on his property. Then in her absence, her children will take over. While she's still alive, she manages the property in the way she deems fit, and none of her sons can challenge the way she manages the property. Once she's no longer in the way, then her first son takes over, along with her brothers and sisters. Now, I well understand what happens in Nigeria in this regard. A man dies, sometimes even when the man has left children of both genders, boys and girls, a brother of that man, an uncle to the children, will seize the man's property and claim these are his brother's property. It's against the law. And sometimes the woman cowers or cringes away, recoils with fear, frightened that they might kill her. Of course, such a killing is usually extrajudicial. Extrajudicial. They kill her by poisoning. They kill her through black power. And I want to tell women who are involved in such a situation to be strong. If you are in a marriage, you have to be strong. If they have access to black power, you can have the same access. If you do not know how to get access to black power, ask questions. You can ask me or other people, and they will direct you on what to do. To defend your right, employ whatever weapon your oppressor might employ against you. Learn how to use that same property, that same weapon, to knock your enemy or your oppressor aside, to dislodge your rivals. The knowledge of the law empowers you with your rights. The knowledge of black power empowers you to protect yourself against that other power which the law cannot interpret, but which is so strong that many are dislodged with it. So what I'm trying to say is that when you fight for your rights, you do not leave any stones unturned. If you have enjoyed today's video, like and share the video. Subscribe to this channel so that we can be giving you more of these kind of videos. You can join my community, the Human Rights Heralds community, by chatting me up on WhatsApp using the number 091 333 01790. When you chat me up on WhatsApp, then I'll tell you how to enlist into the Human Rights Heralds community. If you have your observations or comments, please leave them on the comment section. You can also reach me by email. Send your email to humanrightsheralds.wizard@gmail.com. That's humanrightsheralds.wizard@gmail.com. Until we meet on our next video, which I'm inviting you to join me on, stay safe and be law abiding. Above all, know your rights. Protect your rights.